Hello BookTube, this is Leena from Lukunurkka and this is my January wrap-up. First thing I read this year was The Rubber Bride by Margaret Atwood. I read a Finnish translated version and it was translated by Christina Drews. The premise of the book is that three women are connected because they have all been victims of this woman Xenia, who stole their man and put their life all around out of order and upside down and crazy. At the start of the book, the women are remembering the Xenia's funeral, but then they see her again, alive, and at that point they start flashbacking of how Xenia screwed over each one of them. First, when I started reading this book, I was kind of afraid that it would be only about how Xenia stole their man, but it was much more interesting because the man was not the only thing she stole. And it was, I would argue, it was not even the most important thing she messed up. She came and she wormed herself in using these three different women's own insecurities, their life beliefs, and she got herself in. And then she started to unravel these beliefs and their whole life system. They go to their connections, all the support network that the women had, basically did her best to destroy everything they had. The three women find each other. They are acquaintances before but not friends, but they come together to support each other from the damage Xenia has done. I would say that even if you get to know them very well, they are not exactly the most likable persons, perhaps. I felt like a fly on the ceiling, and I was watching all this unravel, but I did not have this personal connection. But then again, I did not feel I needed it. And then there was Xenia that was most fascinating. She was always lying, she was always spinning the web, and she was always having a second and third and fourth plan. Most likely she didn't need those, but so you had the feeling she had those. She had the full control of all the time. And she was the most fascinating. She felt more like force of nature, like this chaos that come and rustled up the whole life of these three women. I would rate this 3.5 stars. It's a little bit slow, it has such a clear arcs for each character. So between point of these arcs, because you have all this tension in you when you were reading the other part, other person's story, and then you're like, whew, and now I should get to the next one. How Xenia will destroy this woman. And at that point you are like, I need a little bit breather, I need a little bit break. And if you don't have a feeling for the book, it's too easy to drop the book at that point. Then, next book I read. The next I wanted to have something lighter and fluffier, and because I had Castle in the Air by Diana Wynne Jones lying around, I picked that one up. It was also in Finnish, translated by Ville Virtanen. So, this is the second book of the House Moving Castle series, and it started at this pseudo-Arabia style environment, and the premise is that in there was this ordinary merchant who buys a magic carpet, and then he sees this beautiful princess and fell head first in love, and then the princess is promptly kidnapped, and the rest of the book is him trying to catch up to the princess. At first I really liked the setting. I was like, okay, the first book was clearly based on England countryside and the small cities and stuff like that. I was like, oh, completely different setting. I like this. But then at around halfway point, I guess, they changed the location, and I felt really disappointed about that. This is a little bit spoiler territory, but same way, you get to know these characters, and most of them turn out to be not what they seemed. And that is in a bad way. I felt like I had to know their personality, and then that personality was erased from them, and they turned out to be other characters. And I was like, I don't like those other characters so much that I needed them to come up here. And then the main characters who reminded as themselves, they were not that interesting. So yeah. Then there was this thing I have about Diana Jones's writing. All the books I have read from her, they are too neat at the end. Everything comes around so perfectly, tied in a bow, and it's done. And every single thing comes back and helps the characters survive and win at the end. And it's just too neat. I like my fantasies have a little bit weirdness, and it can have throwaway things if they add character to the setting or add depth for the characters. Not everything has to be at a plot point at the end. So, do I recommend? If you like the series, I guess. But I gave it 2 stars. It was okay. It was quick read, which was what I needed after Robber Bride. But not big fan. The third book I read was If This Is a Man by Primal Levy. I was going through my list and tried to search if I could find any audio versions from the YouTube, and I found this one. And it was a blind jump. I did not know anything about this book. I was like, oh, I can find it there, let's listen to it. It turned out to be a biographic story of Primal Levy's time at a concentration camp, so quite heavy subject. And the audio format made it feel like he was talking to me, telling me about his time there, and passing forward the story so it would never be forgotten. And that was a really effective form for biography. A lot of things he was telling about life in the concentration camp was the things I kind of knew. I kind of knew how every tactic was used to dehumanize the people who were there working. But even though I knew about some of these practices, this gave a more personal view and how it affected people and how it changed them. So for my rating, 4 stars. At one point of the month, my friend left to Australia to her exchange study period. And before that, she was like, come and borrow whatever you like from my bookshelves, because otherwise I have to pack them and move them to my parents' house, which is in another city, so anything you take helps me. So we went there and we filled our bags, and now I have quite a lot of comics and books from her. So I'm going through that stack. First thing I read from her were these Nanna comic book series. I don't think it's translated, so sorry about that. I read the collection 1 to 3 and the separate smaller collection. And this is a Sunday strip style, no large plots. The idea was that these more human-like animals came to live in the city with regular humans around. It was okay read, and it gave comedy situations and a little bit commentary of Finnish city life. I would not buy it for myself, but if you find it somewhere, just read through it. I would say 2.5. And then I read Kaskissa. Basically translated the series, it would be Oh Cat. And it was comic equivalent of cat videos of YouTube. So it was cute and it made me wanna have a cat, which I don't. And 3 stars. Cuteness. Really fast read. But anyway. So yeah, that was everything. So as I record this in February, some of the facts and feels I had for these books may be a little bit muted, but I think I got everything important I wanted to talk about them. So see you in the next video. Bye!